Well, guys, a lot at stake in this game where the winner will be at 500, but the loser, it's more about the loser in this sense where the loser of this game between Arkansas and Auburn is going to be in the cellar of the SEC West, probably in sole possession of last place, and obviously both teams will look to avoid that, particularly Auburn, who started the season with so much more promise, Brandon, where they were preseason number 6, even after 2 weeks, still number 6 in the polls, where now if they were to fall to last place in the West, that would be a heck of a fall in such a short period of time.
Especially with the schedule coming up. If you're an Auburn fan, you should probably sit back and just go, when's basketball season start? And it starts in November against UAB. Because this Arkansas team, if it beats Auburn, Auburn is looking at a losing season. I don't see how they get to 6 wins at that point against this schedule. Maybe against Ole Miss when they play them here at home, because Ole Miss is one-dimensional, can't run the football, and susceptible at times because of play calling from Hugh Freeze to not having great on games. But having said that, Auburn loses this game. It's I wouldn't say the season's over, but for any hopes of reviving anything, I think it is.
It would be certainly very difficult for them to have a very successful year at all with a loss. Whereas with a win, Wes, things could certainly start to, you would say on paper they would have some momentum. It would be 3 straight wins at that point.
Right.
Things would be more optimistic with a win, certainly, than with a loss where they'd be in last place.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of where what we said last week, where, you know, in that Kentucky game was pretty much a must-win game, and Auburn's just in that same situation at this point. Obviously, you know, against Kentucky, the offense showed some improvement, but the defense is still just giving up a ton of yards, and until they can contain you know, a running back or get some pressure on the quarterback, or really just, they haven't shown anything this season. And so, you know, depending on how the defense looks and depending on if the offensive, you know, improvement continues, then yeah, I mean, a win here, you're kind of optimistic playing Ole Miss at home on Halloween, and like Brandon said, I mean,
a loss,
you're assuming, yeah, and you're assuming that Auburn beats Idaho. A win here would probably mean a bowl game for Auburn, which looked pretty bleak earlier in the season. Yeah, I mean, if Auburn loses this game, it could be a slippery slope.
And for Arkansas, a win would again put them at 500 in the SEC. They would still be 3-4, but they play their FCS game a week later. They would get to 500 presumptively a week from now with a win over Auburn. A loss, they're in last place in the West. Yeah, they get a win over an FCS team coming up, but so what? They would still be facing a pretty tough road at the end, though they do still have home games with Mississippi State and Missouri to close out. So a 500 team in the SEC with a win for whoever wins this game, and a brutal spot in last place in the West for the loser.